Health disparities that result in disproportionately higher rates of morbidity and mortality continue to increase for African Americans, particularly in the area of heart health. I wear red today as a symbol of America's common goal to eradicate heart disease and strokes. I wear red today for my father, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncles, and a host of other family members who have died prematurely from heart disease. I wear red today, more importantly, for the participants represented in our study who have cardiovascular disease and the risk factors. Picture me heart disease free, understanding African Americans' cardiovascular disease experiences through a culture centered approach. This project is one of the first studies to apply the photovoice method to a study guided by the culture centered approach to health. Photovoice is like an icebreaker, if you will, that helps chisel through the hearts and minds of marginalized communities so they can engage in these critical conversations with researchers and other community members on issues that may be difficult to discuss on their own. CCA, or the Culture Centered Approach, takes a bottom up approach in developing solutions rather than a top down approach by listening to the stories of those directly affected to gain understanding of their day to day struggles and their successes in their health journey. This study proposes the following research question: how do photos taken by African American individuals manifest the tensions among structure, culture, and agency in their pursuit of health? Picture Me offers a window into how African American men and women living with cardiovascular disease or the risk factors express these dialectical tensions or this push and pull, or you can even consider it like a tug of war between structure, which are the rules and resources that facilitate or constrain them from achieving heart health, culture, which is that shared system of meaning, and agency, which is their initiatives and behaviors to take charge of their health when trying to live a heart disease free life in the South. Structural determinants such as social, psychological, and behavioral factors manifest in our data by exhibiting how our participants' lifestyle can be, on one end, constrained by stress, which can trigger this stress eating or guilty pleasure, that piece of cake that you really want to have, and other bad eating habits, but can also be empowered. Our participants can also be empowered by being able to afford a luxurious man cave for relaxation to reduce that stress. So it's like that push and the pull. Our participants also tell us how they are constrained by fatalism, their religion, and saying, well, this is the way God wants me to go. But on the other end, they're empowered by the use of the latest medical technologies. We also heard stories of this strong um, sense of food, so the strong food culture where our participants stressed being constrained by the traditional soul foods that are unhealthy, or they're prepared in unhealthy ways, and they signify love, the love for the family. But on the other hand, their agency, their middle class status allowed them to be able to afford healthy foods in restaurants and fresh food sections in grocery stores. Existing research supports the notion that negative health outcomes are experienced disproportionately by African Americans who are in poverty with little or no access to foods, to knowledge, little or no access to health care, and to positive environmental factors. But wait until you hear the voices of our 13 participants who are made up of middle class, educated, insured men and women with the risk factors of cardiovascular disease. All except one of our participants had multiple risk factors. My co researchers, that's what I call my participants, they vividly express how their class status allows them to access or allows them the access to take charge of their heart health, but also how they struggle with certain barriers and challenges. Finally, in the spirit of community, our participants go on to offer recommendations of how to mitigate heart disease and the risk factors in the African American community. These participants all seek to live a heart disease free life, and their desire is to be pictured as heart disease free. We can take the results of this study to begin community mobilization into initiating health disparities in cardiovascular disease for African Americans. Culture is strong, it's dynamic. And in this study, we see how cultural factors such as the food culture, reluctance to see doctors, consumerist attitudes, and others can mediate the relationship between structure and agency. Cultural factors, it'll be a great idea to include those in interventions to promote heart health among African Americans and the cultural training of physicians. Thank you.